Call the meeting in order, please. Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to approve the agenda for the August 2024 Board of Education meeting as presented. So moved by Laura. Second by Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Starting with presentations on our ARP funds.
So just by way of brief introduction, as everybody knows, we got a whole bunch of, got a whole bunch of federal money to help not only with kind of the early stages of COVID, but then the aftermath, some money for after-school programs, before-school programs, and the like. Every district reports on that every 6 months, so this is one of those, but I think it's also the last, will this be the last one? Because
Yes, all the money is spent.
the money has to be spent by law by September of 2024, which is next month. Nobody's allowed to have any money left. We don't. So we complied with that part of the regulatory framework. So this will be just kind of a summative presentation on the expenditure of that money, most of which I think was spent the last time we
Yeah,
had
I'll go through that, yeah.
And I'll also say this too, I put this in an email update to you guys. Every school district in New York State also has the pleasure of enjoying a New York State Education Department audit to go through how all of that money was spent. That's unique to New York and maybe a couple of other states. So it's the state government auditing our expenditure of federal money. So we're in the process of doing that now. It's fine. We're getting through it. I say it's fine because it's really Colleen and Christine who are doing it. So it's probably a little bit less than fine, but it's one of those things that we all have to go through, and all districts are doing it. And state ed has just a couple of people working on all these audits, so it just takes a little bit of time sometimes to get feedback from them too.
So who's the auditor? The
State Education Department.
Oh, and is it all virtual or are they
Yeah.
in-house?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all virtual. So we're exchanging, uploading stuff to the portal, and there's some emails and stuff like that. So that's happening. That's happening now. It'll probably be ongoing for.
Well, I actually hope to submit the last, by the end of the week. There's a couple more things we have to give them.
Yeah.
But
that's common. I mean,
but then they'll unsubmit it and ask for more.
Yeah, and that's what every superintendent I talk to is going through the same experience where it just takes time to get through it. They ask for this, that, and the other, and different formats, things like that. So it's just kind of some context and an introduction. Christine will just kind of run through the report.
So the first 4 slides are actually the. What is wrong with me? I can never do this. Is this arrow? Nope.
It worked.
There you go.
Something happened.
Okay. Is that the first one? Okay, so the district was awarded a learning loss grant of $700,000, which was broken into 3 parts, and then our big ARP ESSER funding of $2,028,213. Again, this is all the same as the last time I presented. We needed community input. There was a public feedback form on the district website, and we reviewed all those. And then the first piece of that $700,000 was the summer enrichment. All that money was spent by March of 2022. So this is the same as the last presentation. The ARP before and after school program, all of that money was spent by June 17th of 2022. So this is the same as the last presentation. And then the learning loss, we had a little bit to spend in there. About $119,000 that was left in salaries and benefits that we spent in 23-24. So the grant was closed June 30th, 2024, and the final report was submitted to the State Education Department July 3rd, 2024. And as you can see, all the things that the learning loss was spent on: kindergarten screening, family support center, AIS, reading and math teachers, mental health, curriculum, early reading intervention, and supplies. The big pot of money, the $2 million, there was left to spend in 23-24, $418,888, and that was spent on supplies, salaries, and benefits. So again, closed out at June 30th, 2024. Final report was submitted to the State Education Department July 3rd. And the expenses were mostly salaries, benefits, mental health professionals, before and after school and summer learning staff, AIS teachers, and you can read all that, and benefits. So we're all done with the money, and actually we've even got all the reimbursement too, so there's nothing to collect. They paid us right away. As Mr. Cornell said, every district in New York State that received ARP ESSER funding is subject to a very extensive audit. We were chosen for our targeted monitoring review in January, and the responses were due March 1st. There were 4 areas that were audited: program compliance, equitable services compliance, fiscal compliance, and supporting documentation. There were literally hundreds of pages of documentation that were uploaded to the portal between April 2nd and June 30th. They had a few requests for us to, so they unsubmitted it and asked us to add some additional documentation. So we're almost done. I put some stuff in there today. Caitlin put some stuff in there last week. There's just like 3 things that we have to finish, and then we'll submit it again.
Quick question. So literally you are uploading it? Y'all don't have like an assistant doing that?
Well, the treasurer uploaded some things, but there's only certain people who have access to the portal.
Right, I'm just
So,
purely a curiosity. Not
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
I am surprised. That sounds like a lot of work. Where do you find time to do that?
I would also say this, as we're working through it, like the question, then we find the documents that support what they're asking for, they're very particular with what they want, and then we just upload it as we're talking and creating the document. So we schedule time to meet together, work through it, and then upload it as we're doing it. Instead of trying to organize it, send it to someone else to upload, and then access, we're very thoughtful about who has access to the portal, and it's just a lot of us as administrators.
And, it's the hands-on nature of the work, I mean, the initial meeting, we all sat together.
Yep.
All of us, so, they're doing most of it, but, it's the hands-on nature of the work that Christine, Colleen, Brett, Caitlin, Jen, and all of our administrators do.
Did you know in advance that, you said in advance you knew you were gonna be audited, so it was like.
Yeah, we had stuff saved and organized, sure.
Cool.
So that made it easier,
That's nice.
but sometimes you think you know what you're uploading and then they might ask for something completely different.
Right.
And we just smile and figure it out and upload something else. So we know we'll get to the end, it just takes a little bit of time.
yeah, and certain things we didn't know, like, we know that, like, St. Peter and Paul, a district, a private school in our district gets a piece of the allocation. So we had to upload their stuff too.
We had some note, like, we were kind of late, we just got chosen late. So, just from talking to my superintendent colleagues, we talk about the nature of the process itself through this business officials, the assistant superintendent. So we had some notice as to what it was gonna be like, and it didn't disappoint. It's been exactly like they said it would be.
Any more questions?
So I assume with this money, like you couldn't just allocate existing costs to this and call it that in order to get the money, right?
Well, you could, I mean, some of our existing teachers and mental health professionals that.
Right, I realize we
Yeah.
didn't necessarily add every dollar here to our budget, right? So I guess that's my question.
Well, this is in the federal fund, that fund, so, there were some salaries that were moved from the A fund to the F fund. The salaries that were covered in the grants, but now in 24-25, those salaries are back in the general fund.
That was my follow-up question.
Yes,
right? Have we
so-
sort of reassigned those costs?
Yes,
back to
it's,
where-
over $400,000 of salaries
Yeah.
went back to the general fund.
And that was part of the challenge it created the 24-25 budget, is those
Correct.
$400,000 worth of positions had to come back into general fund.
part of
And their
last
benefits
year.
and everything.
Correct, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Understood.
Good question.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Christine.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the work. I mean, it's a lot, it's a lot of work.
Well, if
It
Caitlin
really
was here,
is.
we would also give her.
Yes,
a high
Caitlin,
five.
yeah,
She's doing a
for
lot.
sure.
And Kathy.
Yes, yeah, she's done a ton of good stuff. Good thing we like each other and working together.
Just move through our C items, the board briefings, basically the minutes from our last meeting. Couple just small pieces of information at our desks. One of them's the ECSB schedule for the year, just so you kind of know what's coming up. Our future board meetings, our next meeting is Tuesday, September 10th, which will be here. Our October meeting will be on the 8th and we'll start going to our various schools. That'll be at Hamburg, or at the high school. November's meeting's on the 12th at Boston Valley, and December's meeting on the 10th will be here, but that'll be as our regular school and probably have a school presentation as well. Upcoming meetings, workshops and such. ECSB sponsors a back-to-school dinner. That'll be, actually that's Thursday. Like too late to? Yeah. So if you signed up, you signed up. If you didn't, you didn't. This was got a board officers academy that's virtual, superintendent evaluation workshop that's virtual in September, and the NYSBA convention in New York City is October 20th through 22nd. Let Brandy know if anybody's interested in going. Just their informational budget transfers. Moving on to our board committee and individual reports. We'll start with our student rep, Abby.
So
Emma.
We've had
Sorry.
A few, you're good. We've had a few meetings this summer already, like myself and the other officers. And then we had one with Mr. Krangle yesterday. We just talked about decorating the front foyer for the first day of school to welcome everyone. We talked about open house and us, myself and the other officers, we're gonna be there to help direct parents and help them find their kids' classes. And then freshman orientation, me and the vice president Max, we're just gonna go to freshman orientation and say a few things about just some words of advice to the incoming freshmen. So that's about it. We're excited for homecoming and to see all our planning pay off.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
What's going to be your most important word of advice to our freshmen?
I kind of wrote this whole thing, and then yesterday, or the day before when we met with Mr. Kringle, he was like 30 seconds, just say something. And I was like, oh, I kind of wrote a whole thing, but I can shorten it. I don't know. Mostly just get involved. That's it.
Good
And
advice.
balance.
Yeah.
That was a key word.
Good.
Balance.
Good.
Balance the fun and academics.
Good
I
advice.
love that.
Thanks.
Mary?
All right, well, I haven't done any committee meetings yet, although I'm on it's on the calendar to do the transportation meeting Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very psyched for that. However, a last minute, can't think of the football term, it is when, audible. Last minute audible, I sent you something, Tom. There's been a lot of talk about cell phone bans and stuff, and my survey experience is coming out, so I got some feelings in preparation for our technology meeting. I've got some ideas about a community survey, so I'm drafting that. I sent it to you, but that might be more of a new business thing.
Okay, I'll take a look. I
Literally pressed send and then got in the car and drove here, because it wouldn't print. So just be forewarned.
Okay.
I'm thinking about that. Just very excited to get involved,
Okay.
I guess, is the report.
Okay. Dave?
Real quick, we were all at the Erie County Association of School Boards, Boards and Brews
all attended. I think we were all there, right? Yeah, so that was a lot of fun though. And it didn't rain this time. I thought the board retreat was excellent. I think I learned a lot about everybody, and it was great to see the new board members there, and I think we got to know each other really well. On June 25th, we had the facilities committee, and we understood the change orders in the capital projects a little bit better, at least I did, as they explained and went through those. I thought it was a good meeting. It kind of ran over, but a lot of the guys had to get back to work, but it was a great meeting to be there, and I think you get a better understanding of what's going on and the different rules and, the things that happen in the capital project and the way it's paid. And in August, I was at the finance committee meeting where we talked about rebuilding the reserves. I think you're going to talk about that a little bit later on, and that was interesting. I think the most important thing to understand is that the budget has fixed everything, and now we just have to rebuild those reserves back. And then coming up is a transportation meeting, which I'm not that excited about it, but I'll be there. And, so,
It's your baby, though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I'll bring that energy.
Yes. All right. That's all.
Some of us kind of ditto with Dave, because I was on both of those committees, so at both the facility and finance committees. For the facilities, it's becoming more and more apparent that going with the Guardian program for our portion doing the boiler at the high school is going to be very good for the district, both in timing and money-wise. So glad that our partners brought that to us, and I think that's going to do the district well. Finance committee, glad to see that we're kind of back on we're back on a good track, and I think from what you said, and we'll go into more detail, probably more in September. September we get the actual audit report, or October?
Yes. September.
But very comfortable with the kind of the checks and balances and what we're doing, the things we're doing now that we kind of learned from and improved on. And nobody's mentioned our board retreat yet. It was also brief. I did. Yeah. Which I thought was great. I thought it was real productive. Good way to spend the day. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, at risk of being repetitive here, with the finance committee, I was lucky enough to get that sort of advanced look with Dave and Tom. Really satisfying to see us restoring some of those reserves. So I think, as painful as last year was for many of us, I think it was very rewarding to sort of see the fruits of that labor. So hats off to everybody for the opportunity to do that. And then with respect to the IDA and the Land Development Corp, we continue to meet regularly. Not surprisingly, projects in the IDA are somewhat limited right now. Construction is hard to come by. Money is hard to come by. So as much as Sean Doyle has the enthusiasm and has great ideas, it's really a struggle right now to get meaningful projects off the ground. So lots of work continues, right? Stuff around McKinley Mall and these sort of Bill's Stadium adjacent or companion type projects that the IDA is very excited and willing to pitch in on. Some of those in our district, right? So they create these pilot opportunities for Hamburg. So I think that's going to change, hopefully as borrowing gets easier as well. But right now it's a tough slog for the IDA, but continue there. So
our district goes to that corner, Abbott and Southwestern, but not the opposite corner, right?
Correct. Well, we go up. Is it Parker?
Yeah, we don't even go up as far to the corner.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we don't get to 20A.
Yeah.
Okay, so you couldn't contribute to any projects up that way? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, the IDA, like Hamburg proper, like the IDA governs Hamburg. Most of Hamburg, especially the Hamburg that's near the stadium, is Frontier District.
Gotcha.
But I still get a vote on that, right? So that's it.
Okay, the board retreat was great. Got a lot out of that. Worked with all the board on some different fun projects. during that time, so we had some time to relax after. That was nice. The Facilities Committee meeting was really interesting. We had a lot of good in-depth discussion about that, that committee and how it works, and it was just, I'm glad I'm on that one now. And I guess that's it. Repeat everybody's
Right.
stuff, so.
I'm in the same boat. I was at facilities meeting and the retreat, and I'm also just jumping up and down at the thought of going to the transportation. No, I will always look forward to seeing you. So I don't have anything else to add.
All right, then there's me. Most of my committees haven't really gotten into full swing yet. However, I can give a PTSA somewhat update here, and that is memberships are up for grabs. If you haven't got yours, please do so. They are $8 a person. You can get them for you, you can get them for your spouse, your kid.
Got mine today. I got the premium
Thank you.
memberships.
And I always tell people, if you're
Click on,
spreading the word, anybody can get them. We will not ask you for anything if you don't want to be asked. We take your $8, $4 of which goes to our insurance for all the district-wide events. So we appreciate you helping to sponsor that. So again, please get your PTSA memberships. Our elementary schools, I know, are in full swing doing their fun runs. These have been pretty awesome. In the past, it's like the one and only fundraising event for a lot of the schools. So instead of kids having to go around door to door, like selling wrapping paper, candy, and things like that, the fun runs have been really instrumental to funding lots of great things in the schools. So just keep an eye out for those fun things happening. And thanks to all of our sponsors who have contributed to that as well. There's lots of village sponsors, as well as just lots of personal and personal business sponsors. I'm looking across the table at Dave there, as his business has sponsored our fun run as well. So fun runs in full swing, be looking at that. Also, if anybody's interested in a building tour in the first couple of months of school, reach out to me. We'll try to set one of those up. Cam will try to set something up together here on that committee with me.
Sure,
So if anybody is interested, let us know, and Cam and I will look into that.
Where did we leave off last year?
Yeah, so what we've usually done, we used to do all 6 schools every
Yeah,
year.
no,
and it was like, it's too much. So we picked 2 schools, usually like one of the senior schools and then an elementary school. So last year we did Charlotte and Armour, actually. So last year we did Charlotte and Armour. So I would just suggest we pick 2 other schools, probably. Maybe we can decide next month, but maybe February.
We can chat and see who's around.
So the board will decide which 2, and then you'll let us know, and Brandy and I
And
will
we
set up.
coordinate with you guys and pick a time that works for the school.
Yep.
Great. That's it.
All right, so just a couple of quick hitters here. So while we're on the transportation subject, so this, September 23rd is it's a Monday night football game, so we're gonna do our typical 2 o'clock secondary dismissal, and then we roll after that. That's been great. Have had no difficulty getting kids home. We've run into 0 stadium traffic, so that seems to work well. We'll continue to do that. So, we'll obviously let everybody know as we get closer. Recording board meetings are on a district website that was suggested at our last meeting, so those are on there.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, we put it on there. I think I sent that to you guys in an update, but
What
I might have
was
missed
that?
it.
When is the earliest one?
23rd,
Yeah, I meant like what time is it?
2 o'clock.
Thanks.
Has that been, am I allowed to ask you a question right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
How's that been working for our Armour kids getting home, just because they're the closest ones to that,
I rode the bus myself. Perfect.
with the football games?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure, because I know they have concerts too, and I feel less worried about the concerts and more,
Oh, it was
Worried
great.
about the
You would have
football
never
games.
known a difference.
Wow.
So it was great.
I bet those kids were on their best behavior.
Actually not. I got a wedgie, it was terrible. Good Lord. No, so it was really good. There was really the run was exactly as it would have normally been. So the Village Waterline project, is actually progressing much more quickly. I sent you guys an update, I don't know what it was, maybe before I left for vacation, that was maybe offered somewhat of a dire prediction of what was gonna happen, because they kind of gave us, I think they're trying to under-promise and over-deliver. So I drove by there yesterday and today. They're almost actually they've dug to Colonial, I think, and put the pipe down and put the stone down. They're tamping and blacktopping when I was there at whatever time I was there. 11:15 or something like that today. I talked to the guy, he said they think they're gonna be to Legion in Division like next week. And they hope to tie in at North in Division by start of school, is what he said. So they're moving much more quickly. Lou, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but.
We've been working with them to make sure that if there's any disruption in their schedule, that they present it to us so we can work around what's happening. But like you said, once they get rolling there, they're pretty much ahead of schedule, which is great news for all of us.
Yeah.
What does the road look like now? Is it gravel? Like that side is gravel? Or?
No, it was actually blacktopped,
Oh.
probably halfway between Norway and Colonial.
Oh, so they're blacktopping as
Yeah.
they go.
Yeah.
Wow, jeez.
They bought that in the scoping and the contract with them, so at the end of the day, you'll have paving where they're pulling out.
Oh, wow. I knew they had to sort of put it back to a good state, but I didn't know that meant.
Happens, and then make sure it's drivable, and
Great.
Oh, good.
we're going to bi-weekly meetings to make sure that if there's any disruption, they'll let me know. We have contacts out there that we talk to all the time. If there's any issues, they'll call me or Brent or Sean here as well, so.
Yeah. So it's moving along much more quickly than we thought. So I think we're gonna be all right there. We're gonna have less disruption than I would have thought. Some of you mentioned the finance committee meeting and the year-end financials, so closing out the 23-24 school year. We have about $3 million that we'll put into reserves. And those action items are on the agenda tonight. I emailed the board with those details last week. So it's really good news. It's been tough, covering from what was happening in the business office, but a lot of good credit to everybody. We put together a great budget. We managed the budget really well. When you have a good budget and you manage it well, you get a chance to take advantage of some good fortune too. So we had some things break our way also, which was really helpful. So those action items are on the agenda later on tonight. Important to note that while we're rebuilding our reserves, we still have a ways to go. We're still somewhat undercapitalized for a district our size, so we've got room to grow on the capital reserve, on the reserve side of the house. But we're certainly in far better shape as we sit here on August 20th, 2024, than we were on August 20th, 2023. So that's the trajectory that we said we would build, and it's exactly what we've done. So
What's the max amount we can put in the reserves again?
well, 4% is the maximum amount you can have in the unrestricted fund balance. And then in terms of each of the individual reserve accounts, they have their own limits based on the size of your staff or budget or whatever. Like, the ERS or the ERS reserve, for example, the max is for us is like 2.9, almost
Right,
$3
3
million.
years worth of expense.
We'll have $1 million in there after we allocate tonight. So, that's a good example, a good way to illustrate just how far we have to go yet. But in terms of the trajectory of the school district, in terms of our finances, is way, way better than it's been in a long time. So, we're working hard to do what we said we were going to do, which is put us on the right path.
And what's the rough math on our contribution limits to the capital reserve?
So the voters approved that reserve in 2016, a max of 10 years, $10 million.
Oh, so it was.
We still have
we
8
just
million.
Arbitrarily set it at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
So we've got room to grow there, and we'll have to do another referendum, right? After
May of
25,
To extend
so we
it
can
or-
continue to put money in there. So that would be, I won't be here, but I would imagine that'll be Christine and Tom's recommendation would be to extend that.
We actually have to create a new
one altogether.
Yeah, so you have to determine the years and the max dollar
max.
amount.
Yep. So administrative retreat, board retreat, I'll start with the board retreat. Thanks to everybody for taking time out of their schedules to do it. I work with lots of superintendents, and they struggle to get their boards, whether it's a 5-member board, 7-member board, 9-member board, they struggle mightily to get their board members to carve out even sometimes 2.5 or 3 hours to sit down together and talk about the business of the school district. And this is the 10th consecutive year that the entire board has gotten together for a full day to do this work. That was not always the case. It's you guys who made that a priority and have done so for 10 years. So I said it then, and I'll say it now so everybody hears it. I don't take that commitment that you guys make lightly to that part of your work and all the rest of it as board members. So thank you for that. Did some team building. We want to make sure that our board is a place where everybody feels like they really belong as a member of our board, because we have to model that for our school community. Building that trust. We talked about trust and vulnerability and things like that, which is really important when you're trying to build a team. And it was a day well spent, and we made a lot of progress in that direction. The administrative retreat, again, we have a lot of people who have been with us for a long time. We're always welcoming new members. You're going to meet Shannon Kavanaugh. Some of you have, who's our new assistant principal. She's going to join us for our administrative meeting tomorrow, which we're really excited about. But our administrative retreat was really time well spent. We enjoyed time talking about, again, belonging. We had Renee Pettis-Jones with us from the National Federation for Just Communities with us, and we spent some good time together on that. We spent some time talking about The Anxious Generation, which is a book not just about cell phones, but about the way children are being raised in Western societies today in front of screens, sometimes too often, was the thesis of the book. And even in that book talked about belonging, so that the through line was really belonging and human connection between The Anxious Generation and the work that we did on the following day with Renee Pettis-Jones. And then the work that we did with our administrators to take the strategic plan of the school district with some of the new learning and conversations that we have, and then convert that. One of the hard things to do as a building principal is to take what the district needs in terms of its strategic planning and what we talk about as a group of 16 or 17 administrators, and then translate that for a middle school, a high school, or an elementary school, because it's not exact. You know what I mean? You've got to try to customize that for your staff, the age of your kids, those types of things. So we spent a lot of time around that because that's the only way that a strategic plan lives a useful life in a school. Otherwise, it's shelf art. Yeah, that happens in districts all over the place, but I'm proud of the fact that it doesn't really happen here. So one of the things we did talk about was cell phones. We had quite a bit of conversation around the way we handle cell phones in our school district. And essentially, K-8, they're either not brought to school or they're off away and in a locker. And that seems to work quite well, and the group is of a mind to maintain that. At the high school, they're allowed to have them. And there doesn't seem to be an appetite, and a well-informed opinion, I should say, about leaving it the way that it is. The hardest thing to do in any school community is create a real sense of community, a sense of belonging. And if you can create a human connection in a school, particularly a high school classroom, that becomes a default, it becomes the thing that the kids want more than whatever's on their phone, that's really the antidote to dealing with cell phones. And I'm in those classrooms all the time. And I look to see what the cell phone situation is. And there are times when they're out, but it's rare. Usually when I walk into a classroom, what do I see? I see kids and teachers enjoying their time together and the cell phone not being a disruption. I'm not saying it's never a disruption, but it's not a common occurrence when you talk to high school teachers when you're there. Our focus, and I know the focus of the high school through their plan for the year, is on really making sure that human connection that happens in our classrooms is a strong and a powerful emphasis in every classroom. We have great high school teachers, we have great teachers, period. We have great high school teachers who do a great job of building relationships with their students and helping the kids build relationships with each other. And we're gonna double down on that and try to make sure that that is the primary feature of our classrooms at the high school. Now, if a teacher says, I don't want cell phones in my classroom, I want them on this, I call it a shoe organizer, whatever they want to put there, if that's what the teacher wants, then that's the rule of that class. And we will support the heck out of any teacher who wants to make sure that there are no cell phones in that person's classroom. So we had a conversation with Mr. Krangle about it today. So we're, that's the way that we'll handle cell phones for 24 and 25. So, that was a large part of our time together at the administrative retreat. Colleen, Brent, what did I leave out?
I was just gonna add, continuing to educate our students about how they use cell phones, and that's not, it doesn't start in high school, right? It's about how you form connections pre-K, K, first grade, and then we continue to build on that. So we make sure we start that young and continue it. So I think that that's part of that other piece that we're responsible for is educating our students, because that phone isn't going away. They're gonna have it when we're in the workplace and trying to figure that out, or when they're going to school, or they, go, whatever it may be, you're gonna have to figure out how to navigate that, and part of our job is educating them on how to do that. So I think that's a really big piece, and figuring out how can we do that better, what else can we add, how do we look at things differently. But when you back map it, what we do in pre-K is establishing those human connections, and how do I look you in the eye, and how do we play together, and how do we choose those activities over turning to our phones. So I think that's just another piece we'll continue to double down on, because there are things we can do better and things we can do differently that will strengthen that. So.
I guess my question or comment would be, listening to the news the last week or so about how the other districts are struggling with the learning because of the phones. The phones are more of a distraction and, taking their eyes off the teacher, that type of thing. So you guys are confident that that is not happening here in our district, and that we can maintain basically the way we've been going, other than just allowing the teachers to individually decide if they feel it's an issue, then they can do it within their class and put the phone somewhere. It just wouldn't be a blanket type of thing.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, we have a high level of confidence that that'll be the case. Laura?
I was gonna say, I was at a meeting about this the other day, and actually somebody brought up Hamburg. I think I mentioned this before, and they said, and I'm not usually one who brings up data, but they said, clearly Hamburg doesn't have a problem. Look at their region scores. The kids aren't that distracted.
Yeah. Good point.
And that was just a point that somebody made in there, but I think another point, well, go ahead, I don't wanna cut you off.
No, it was interesting because I had dinner with a couple different people over the last 2 weeks, and they all brought it up in the conversation. So they just said, what's going on in the district with the phones, all this other stuff's going on with all these other districts. So I said we were gonna have a meeting about it tonight and talk about it in greater depth, but to my knowledge, it wasn't an issue along the way. I mean, we haven't really heard of problems with phones along the way. I mean, I don't know if you guys have, but.
It's not like they're nowhere. It's not like a teacher never has to say, look, I need you to put that phone away and have to ask 3 times. I'm not saying that never happens. But it's not so distracting that the school can't learn. It's not at that level. And let's also not forget that banning cell phones is probably completely unenforceable. I think that is an absolute enforcement nightmare. I talked to superintendents obviously all over the state, as a superintendent's organization locally, the State Superintendent's Association, there's not a lot of support out there for blanket bans of cell phones. Most of my colleagues have no interest in a blanket ban of cell phones for a whole host of reasons. The ones we talked about in terms of emphasizing human connections and things like that, that's a focus of a lot of school districts, not just us. But then the, call it unwieldy nature of trying to actually enforce a cell phone ban. I mean, you want to watch, and having lived in that world for a very long time as a teacher and administrator, you want to watch relationships between teachers and kids fray almost overnight, teachers and parents, teachers and administrators, because, you know, you're not going to ban them. You know, you're
Can
just
I-
not.
Can I toss something out there
Please.
too? I'm not suggesting we make any changes to our policy for this school year, but I do think this should be an ongoing conversation. Like when Mary brought up potentially putting out a survey to talk to some, like get feedback from our stakeholders. I do think it's probably worth trying to gather some information from stakeholder groups like students, like parents, like the teachers, like the administrators, in a way that they can feel safe in doing that. And I don't know if you have a way that you're collecting data or not.
We spent
you know.
3 days with our administrators in a safe place
What-
and had the conversation.
Yes,
I
but-
think we're good there.
Not just the administrators, I'm talking about the teachers too.
Yeah.
And, you know, putting out a survey, while not perfect, might be useful in some way. And I know Mary maybe can speak a little bit more to that. And as we here we have the thing, Governor Hochul is talking about potentially doing a ban. There are states that have done bans. There have been districts that have featured that have done bans. Not that I'm saying we want to ban, but if it's something that might be put into our laps eventually, might just be some things we want to consider hearing from people about, like what are the concerns or what are the pros of having things, because we're all very smart people here, but there are certainly things that somebody else will think of that maybe our, 9-10 brains aren't going to think of without some input. So I just think continuing the conversation as the year moves on might be valuable, if I can toss that out there.
I mean, I think we've been very thoughtful over many years with lots of difficult issues of just kind of paying attention to how it's working. You know, we're in our schools all the time. We see firsthand, as hands-on president administrators, how it's going. So, we'll report back, over the course of the year and let you know how it's going. And, if we feel like our current approach needs more information, then we can talk together about how to get it. What do we need to know and how do we get it?
If I may, I would like a little bit more information on how you, I'd love to know more on how you're collecting evidence on people's opinion on this. And also I know that I've noticed that we're using the language of a ban, and I think that is something that is very headliney, but the reality is that's not, to your point, enforcing a ban is not typically logistically feasible. Usually it's different levels of regulation and how do you manage different levels of regulation, and currently we have different levels of regulation at different levels of the schools. One of the things I'm interested in getting feedback from different stakeholders with, like I said, I sent it to Tom because I was in just a tizzy this afternoon. But the language that I was drafting is really different levels of regulation and what that looks like based on some of the research I was doing from different legislation and different districts. That looks at what other districts have put into place at different degrees. But the reality is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I am so wrong so often, but as far as I can tell, at the district level, we don't have a policy, and it's something that is mandated. It's basically controlled at the teacher level or at the school level. So one of the things I'm curious about, is there an appetite to have something designed at the policy, at the district level? And if so, what does it look like in terms of in terms of regulation? And if we are going to do anything, I want to make sure that every stakeholder at least gets a chance to know how we're crafting it, why we're crafting it, if there's an appetite to craft it. Because like you said, I am so about, I'm maybe too much about technology in the classroom, so I'm not interested in just putting my favorite thing in the classroom. I'm interested in making sure that we have evidence-based decisions. So I'm curious if you can provide some of that evidence. That would
Evidence of what?
of evidence of people's the stakeholders appetite
So
for
like sharing the
regulation.
conversations that I have with people.
Yeah,
or-
like, can you give me some data that kind of backs up people's feelings? And if not, like, that kind of community survey is something I would suggest.
So I think, just to comment on the policy aspect, we don't have like a policy that says, here's what we say about cell phones.
Right.
But we do have a policy, I just sent this to somebody, so I had it handy. 7316 is the policy, I forget what the title is. Technology.
Yeah.
It basically says that cell phones are an acceptable form of education, and that it's the teacher's discretion as to whether they're permitted.
Got it. So our
Right,
policy is.
So it's mentioned in policy,
Right.
but it's not an overt, like, I guess you could go into our policy and type cell phones and find it, and there it is.
I tried.
So,
Same.
I put in cell and got nothing, so.
I think one of the things to remember too is even, and I know you had said you had done some research and just the district I'm currently working in has been talking a lot about this as well. Even when it uses the word ban, even the states that say they have a ban, all they say is to keep it away during academic times, and it is still ultimately up to the teacher's discretion. It's their classroom, it's giving teachers autonomy, and one of the things that has really kind of been on my mind and bothering me a lot about this, and I think it's just because my work is with at-risk youth mostly, is that when you're talking about trying to lower school suspensions, and then you're talking about becoming hard-nosed, black and white on something like cell phones, our most at-risk kids are going to be the ones that are going to be struggling with turning over something that they're extremely attached to for a whole lot of reasons. And the kids that are living in poverty, that have a lot of fear going on in their lives, that aren't kids from Hamburg, and maybe there are kids from Hamburg, I'm not saying we're exempt, but when you look at city schools, and Kathy Hochul talks about making a ban on cell phones, you are going to see the suspension rate rise, which is exactly what we're trying not to do with kids. We're trying to get away from exclusionary discipline. What are we gonna do with a kid who says, I'm not giving you my cell phone, I'm not doing it? Like, we don't know why, there's an underlying reason for every behavior, right? So it might not be just to be disrespectful. There's a whole lot of reasons. So I think to try to make that leap as a district, any district, to do something that extreme is not taking into consideration all the reasons behind families that come into your buildings each day.
Right,
We
that's why I
have
want to
more-
avoid that language of ban, because regulation and degrees of regulation and the appetite for it based on the constituencies that probably that know it best. I mean, these teachers also know our students the best, and the
Right.
students that know it the best too.
I like giving that
For what it's worth, I
autonomy
had a
to
conversation with
teachers.
the teachers union president, and we talked about it, and she's
Yeah.
fully supportive of the approach that we're taking for the year. So if that helps give you some comfort that we have sense for what people think, I would think that that's, would give you great comfort. Somebody who has her finger on the pulse of the teachers, and she represents the teacher aides too, so, probably
Yeah.
But
470 of our 620 employees she represents. And again, it was a reasoned, thoughtful, lengthy conversation that we had over a couple days, and we feel confident that we can make it work like this. It's the next right thing, which is to pay attention to it, support teachers in the ways that they need support, double down on something we're really good at, which is building relationships with kids and trying to build communities in our classrooms. And if for some reason it becomes untenable in Hamburg, I suspect it'll be maybe untenable in other districts too. We're somewhat similar to some other districts, and maybe there's some problem solving that we can do together, but I think that that's kind of the approach. And to the extent that we want to continue the conversation, we'll certainly provide some updates and let you know how it's going.
I just wanted to keep the door open on conversations, and especially on gathering data from stakeholders in a way that makes sense to get feedback from everybody, not just one person reporting like a handful of conversations that might be had. Like, we just want to make sure everybody has an option to give some feedback there. I just think that's important, and to look at what options are out there, because taking everybody's cell phone would not be ideal in any way. And I think there's probably lots of solutions we can be looking at to see what other places are doing if we'd ever have to move that way, like see what's working, just keeping an eye on and a finger on the pulse of what's going on. So hopefully we'll remain open to that.
I think that's all I had. Thanks for the time.
Okay, next up is our capital project update. From our Turner.
How's everyone doing? So I'm happy to report, first off, that the phase one, all that site work is basically complete, like as far as in the field. There's a couple patches of grass to get to grow and one single pad on the baseball field to replace. That's what you see as a single QAQC work to complete for Zoled's construction on the report, replacing that pad. But outside that, the work has been completed. You can see up here photos of the track being done, and that turned out, I think, fantastic. It was a major benefit of the district in the end that we were able to get an upgraded version of that down at no additional cost to the district.
Looks
I think
awesome.
it's going to last.
I ran it the other day.
It's going to last a good time.
It's like
It's amazing.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
To put it in context, what got is basically 2.5 times the material that the existing original one was.
Yeah, they actually, at our facilities meeting, they gave us samples of the track, the sample of what we originally got, what we paid for, in the sample of what we got. You can see the difference.
It's like night and day. It really was. It's awesome.
Time faster because.
I
was
did. I ran my
awesome.
fastest mile in like 5 years.
That's amazing.
A little more grip. Should buy probably, another 10 years of longevity out of it. It's really what you're buying there. So outside that, in phase one, general updates, we can also financially and fiscally essentially close the project out as well with the approval of the final change orders that are on the docket today. To get Zoled's and the electrical contractor Ferguson closed out officially. As far as phase two, you see a couple of pictures around up there already. On the top there, that is a crane that it was setting steel up into the University High School rigging project, we'll call it. So there was a ton of supplemental steel required up in that space once it got diagnosed and redesigned by the engineers. So much so that we could not figure out how to get the largest piece in there. So the solution was to actually cut a hole in the roof, as you can see in the top right picture there, and lift the beam up from the inside with the crane from the outside, and let guys in there actually weld that thing in place. So that work is done. That happened on a weekend, I believe, Saturday. And structural steel took most of the summer to get done until basically last week, but it's wrapped up. Just running through the slides here, some more pictures. The top left is the armor boiler room that's being completely redone. That is about 80% complete. They're a few connections away next week from turning it on, getting it running and compliant, and then we'll be commissioning it and getting everything squared away to make sure it's functioning properly over the course of September and early October as we transition to the actual heating season, so we can actually test its merit. Top right there is the armor Tinker Tank area, which is a room that we added AC to this summer. So you see they had to take the ceiling down to get above ceiling, do a bunch of new duct work and mechanical work. That built out a soffit there, which is that drywall running along the front wall. Basically, these rooms are all being put together at this point. This picture is from last week, so at this point, that space is actually coming together further than that. Bottom left is the Armor Auditorium. What's happening there, again, if you go look at that across the hall here when you leave, it's much further along than that picture portrays from last week, but they were actually cutting an opening in the ceiling you see in the tent there to put in a new projector screen mounting pole and bracket. Bottom right was the Armor Music Classroom, basically completing demolition earlier this month.
Made a lot of progress. I was in there yesterday. They've got
These
paint on
pictures are actually,
walls and
despite from being only last week or the week before, these pictures are, a lot of them are actually outdated.
Yeah.
For today's works. Once you get the finished work, it goes fast, so.
Yep.
Top left, this is the Boston Auditorium. Again, no seats, no carpet shown, but those are actually starting now. Those large holes you see around the perimeter are brand new 4 4-foot by 4-foot LED lighting that are now up there and actually may be on and testing tomorrow. The right side there on the top right is the installation of aisle lighting. So that was actually, the floor, the socket concrete was all cut out. Underground infrastructure for electrical was installed. And then in the next week or so, you're gonna see lighting actually going up each row between the carpet and all the brand new seating in each of the 3 aisles that we're renovating. Bottom left is outside of what is now going to be the new nurses suite. You can see that wall there, that's a different color. That was actually an infill of the old doorway, the new CMU. That whole wall is going to be refinished with brand new architectural paneling. You see the flooring missing there outside the room. That's also been modified, and that whole section hallway there is going to have brand new VCT. Basically, we're calling it accent flooring installed in the coming days in that spot. Bottom right is Boston Valley Elementary art room. You can see right through there, we had to take a wall down that's separated the art room from the cafeteria. What you see there is brand new framing going up to separate those rooms. And again, as of today, that is drywall finished, getting ready for paint in the next couple of days.
And the layout of those new, like at Armor and over at Boston Valley, there's the kiln room. And then where the storeroom was, there's still gonna be storage cabinets, but it's still gonna be some usable space. They're gonna be like a clay table there at Armor for the kids to do stuff. So just the layout and the thought that was into the design and the furniture and the cabinetry in terms of the way the rooms are gonna be used for kids is really well done. It's gonna be a real value add to the way those spaces are used by kids and teachers.
Absolutely. So these pictures are basically now over to Charlotte Elementary. Top left, I believe that is the music classroom, again, pretty much fully demoed. Finishes have started in there, drywall, patching, paint. That is the same process as starting to pull back together. What you're seeing, what makes sure that a little different from Armor and Boston Valley is there was not space really in that existing art room for a new kiln room. The teacher thought it would be too prohibitive for space, so we found an unused space basically in an old girls' locker room right across the hall from her, and that is where you see that CMU wall all the way up to drywall. That is actually a new kiln room being constructed inside that space.
Repurposing.
You guys remember that room or something?
Yeah. We're noticing the toilet in the corner as well.
Yes. It's a nice feature of it.
It's a value add.
Teacher really is immersed, and she has space to stop on the way.
Yeah, you never know.
It's a great use of space.
Bottom left is the Charlotte Odd. That will be the last one to come online per the schedule. It'll be ready in October, so that is the least furthest along, but you can see pretty much fully deconstructed. There was a lot of abatement and demo to do in that room. Seats, floors, paneling on all the walls, and that is actively being put back together now as well. We've had guys up in the ceiling, patching that old plaster ceiling that was in rough shape the last couple of days, and it's looking a heck of a lot better than it did 2 days ago.
What was on those walls before?
It was basically old sound. It's almost not even panels, it's like that.
Yeah, they're asbestos containing sound absorbing panels that once you take out, you never know what's behind them because that's old school construction.
Gotcha.
So you have 2 instances of different installations with the exact same panel system. You have CMU exterior wall.
Are they getting the same wall treatment as like over at Boston Valley?
They're all 3 will look.
All 3 are the same? It's gonna be a nice wall treatment the way I was looking at the stuff today. It's gonna look good.
That was a big lift. That was a ton of demolition in that room. You can see that he was alluding to, there was 3 or 4 different wall conditions behind the panels that you can't touch until you get into the proper conditions for abatement, but it's down, it's getting put back together now, and again, now will be coming online early to mid-October. And then the bottom right again is the final space in Charlotte that's being renovated, so that'd be the art classroom that had the rotating, no, that's the music classroom actually, the bottom right, it had the rotating cabinets. That's either way. That'll be all new, brand new cabinets and filled in that open wall space you see there.
The Charlotte Music Room?
Yes, yeah, these are all Charlotte, so that's the music room there. Again, fully demoed and has begun being put back together. This is just another overview of the overall schedule, so reading out phase 1 effectively done outside of getting a final cost report submitted, which just has a deadline at the end of 2024. this final change order is being blessed, hopefully today will allow us to reconcile that to the final finances for phase one. Phase two, you can see some critical dates for completion as we move along. And likewise, phase three, we're moving into the design phase. We just put together schematic drawings for phase three that will focus on Union Pleasant. And you can see our schedule there as we try to move through that final phase of this referendum.
If I might, Tom mentioned the Gordian project and the enormous benefit that has brought to the school district in terms of getting the work done this summer, and doing it at a cost that was under, at least for the electrical portion, what we had estimated. There's the contracts for 2 for Danforth and the 1 for IPL are on the agenda. I sent you guys an email about it. So that the LOI, letter of intent, number on the IPL contract is $452,000 less than the contract price. We talked about the reasons why in the email, but if you guys have questions about that, I figured I'd open that up now while the guys are here in case there's a question that you guys ask that I can't answer. Chances are I can't answer it, but if I can, I got the guys here.
It's really not a change order, it's just part of the Gordian schedule, so they're really not change orders, right?
Yeah, so the way to look at that is the drawing steps are still being pulled here. The process, one of the things we pitched the process on was getting this work started early, right?
Right.
So we knew we were kind of flying into this thing, getting going in May to make it feasible to do this work in 2 summers. One of the things that came out of that was drawings finalizing in March. We approved this thing in early April. As far as the LOIs, those original numbers. So as they reevaluated the final drawings and everything that we're putting into this project, the electricians realized that there's just more into this. And we vetted that with them through 90 pages of organized, itemized proposals, which is another benefit to the Gordian process. You can see it all very obviously on an itemized proposal, but you don't get the opportunity to do that when you open bid this to public work. So through that process, we got it, we vetted it, we knocked it down, established what they really were owed as a sum, and that's where the delta of $450,000 roughly came from.
Right. But it's still a bargain because if you put it up a bid, it'd be a disaster.
Yeah, we're still below where we projected being ultimately if we went up to a bid, if we were able even to get a bid,
Right.
because of the way the electrical market was trending at that time.
So overall, phase 2 is going great. I mean, I'll say this too, even though, it's been tough for the crews. I mean, there's, I don't know how many people working in our buildings, but I mean,
Any given day, minimum 30, we've had up to 50 guys on site.
yeah, there's just a lot of people.
It's a lot for a project like this.
Dedicating the manpower necessary, which is sometimes a challenge when you're working with large projects and large contractors who have different jobs going on during the heart of construction season. So having been through this a lot of times over the last 20 or so years in leadership, like not having a manpower problem like capital project is, important. That's a part of the benefit of Turner because they've got to please you guys if they, you guys can lean on them in ways that other people can't. So we appreciate what you guys are doing to make sure that they're delivering the manpower that they say they would so we can get the job done on the timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming together. Some spaces may look like they're still ways away, but it happens fast at the end. And
yeah, it does.
A couple pieces of material that are dragging down. The district's been great to accommodate, not disrupting the classes when they come online. A couple spaces that will be put together in September. So yeah, we also appreciate that.
Got it. Any questions about any of this stuff, guys?
I have a quick question. It's just like a little one. Is the auditorium gonna be like? Are we gonna have? Is it gonna be like ready for the school year? I'm just curious.
So which one?
Like, or the high school? Like
Yeah, so the high school.
And stuff.
The high school stage will be ready 100%, like the 2nd to 3rd week of September, completely for all access. It will be ready for events that are basically utilizing the auditorium and the stage front the first day of school.
Okay, I was just curious. Thanks.
And essentially, the Armor Rod's going to be ready on time. Boston Valley a couple weeks behind that, Charlotte a couple weeks behind that.
And it's just basically as far as student-facing work, let's call it that. The only thing that's going to go into the school year is the auditorium, or are the classrooms going to be done, or is there going to be some classroom?
As planned, high school or just generally?
In general.
Okay, so I'll start with Charlotte. That OG was always intended to take
Right.
in October, just the schedule shape.
Right.
The art rooms holistically across the 3 elementary schools we're working in, we had a delay to casework.
Mhm.
And that really inhibits those spaces from functioning properly just because they have so much stuff. So they're going to be pivoting to another space in those schools for a couple of weeks till the casework shows up in October. That'll get installed on second shift. And we're hoping sometime between October and early November we can get them into their permanent spaces fully finished.
That affects the music room there too?
It does, but it'll be occupied with music rooms.
They'll be able to use the space,
Right.
they don't have as much stuff. They just, when the cabinetry does come in, we'll do it second shift.
Yeah.
They come in the morning.
It's on an order
You
of
can only do it
magnitude
when
of-
you can do it, I'm
Right.
just curious.
It's 20, it's maybe a quarter to a fifth the amount of cabinetry as the art room, so it's just it's not as impactful there. Outside that, all the other spaces should be pretty much together on time. Those kiln rooms are gonna come along with the art rooms intentionally. So those will drag back technically, but that's a space that's, won't have an impact on any other areas.
And we've consistently said that, anytime you do a project like this, it's inconvenient, it's messy, there are delays, things happen, and, it's the cost of doing it. And at the end of it, it's gonna be done beautifully, and people are gonna have great spaces, and kids are gonna enjoy spaces, and we haven't touched student spaces in this district in a long time, so we're doing a lot of work to make sure that the spaces students and teachers enjoy are beautiful. And, they mentioned the scope for phase 3, which is Union Pleasant, which is something we're super excited about. That building is in desperate need of work. It needs more than what we're doing here, but in a couple of years, we're gonna do 13 or 14 million just in that one school. We've got to work with our facilities committee on developing the scope and then sharing that with the board, but a lot of really exciting things happening that will start and then continue a cycle of capital projects every 5 years into the future.
It's been communicated with those teachers that are gonna be impacted or whatever.
Oh, 100%. And ahead of time, everybody, particularly at the high school, they broke it down in finite detail at the high school, exactly what was gonna happen, when it was gonna happen, where it was gonna happen, what September was gonna look like, all of that stuff. So, all that was communicated very clearly. I think it was either the May or the June faculty meeting, the Turner guys were all there. We went over the abatement schedule and all that stuff, so everybody did a really good job of being proactive in terms of communicating exactly what the impacts were gonna be.
And music and art too at the elementary school, that was.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the staff, obviously.
Yeah, constantly. Anything else?
Just one question since you raised it. So you talked about the next capital project, which I think is being affectionately referred to as the pool project here in the schedule. Do we mean the next project? Is that what that?
Like a referendum roughly.
Yeah, the next referendum.
2026 would include, should you so choose, pool and some other things. That's next on the list, along with whatever health and safety items come out of the building condition survey and other things.
Yeah, that was actually my question, was when are we scheduled for our building condition survey?
25.
Which part, so the dates are a bit conflicting there. So is it fall 25, we anticipate the vote?
No, I think what we've talked about is building condition survey would be 2025. There'd be a vote in 2026 would be the referendum.
Okay.
And then you're doing some construction, probably 2.5, 3 years thereafter.
So there's lots of time for that building condition survey to factor into that process.
Absolutely. And then I would imagine you would do the same thing, because remember what we did for this project, we went in every building, used faculty meeting time, got feedback from the staff and all that stuff. So that process I would imagine would unfold, at least, maybe in a different way, but with the same outcome where you're getting impact from, or getting feedback from everybody in the buildings about what they'd like to see happen. So it's the needs of the building condition survey because of health and safety and the wants of the staff in terms of things they want to see for the way kids learn in the schools.
I was just making double sure that the building condition survey, the results of that could be considered in that
Absolutely.
project.
That's why we staggered it that way.
It really has to be. There's items in there that depending on where we're at, that have to be addressed.
Correct.
There's the have to be's, the should be's, and the wanna be's.
Yes. Anything else? Okay, thanks, guys.
Yep, no problem.
Building condition survey from 2020. Is it online?
It should,
I thought it
I
was.
know you have to submit it in the portal. I've never checked our website, I'm not sure.
I thought it was online.
I think it is.
Let's see it.
Yeah, if it's on the,
No.
look on the, yeah.
What was the question?
Where's the 2020
You go
building?
on to New York State's Office of Facilities Planning website, you can look into
They're all listed on
their
there.
project status and it'll be on there.
Right, or we could maybe just send it.
Or, you know,
That would be
say,
great.
We can probably make it easier so you don't
Why
have
don't you send it to me?
Don't worry, dig through the
to
whole
search through the internet,
to find it.
the inner tubes.
Yeah, there's actually a survey form that gets filled out, it has to get put into a portal. The architects walk through the entire facility.
Despite Mary's desire to search the New York State website, you can just send it to me anyway, and I'll send it to the other 6 of you while you toil.
Thank you.
I'll do it
We
right
love a
now.
good toil.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Moving on to our business items, to start with our E-consent and F financial items. At this time, any board member can make a request to withdraw a specific item from the consent agendas, E and F, for individual consideration. Is there such a request at this time? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve all consent items E2 through F1?
So moved.
So moved by Dave.
Second. Oh, we're good.
Second by Ashley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes.
One question on that trip that's being taken during the field trip during the spring break.
Gym gang. when
Gym
they went
gangs.
to- Uh-huh.
Yes, is that something new? Have we done that before?
2 or 3 times since I've been here at
Yeah.
least. Goes back
Yeah,
a while.
he does it.
Every year.
Yeah, he does it about every 3 years.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah,
It's a pretty cool trip.
yeah, it is. Maybe the school board should, some of the school board should
Chaperone?
attend.
Mhm.
Let's see where this is going. There you go.
Well, I think the prices were listed, so. Feel free.
Yeah, good point.
All right.
So I also don't want to miss, so Shannon Kavanaugh in the personnel agenda was appointed as assistant principal at Union Pleasant Elementary School, so congratulations to that. And she's not here. She had a family engagement, so she wanted to be here, but she wanted to be with her daughter. Most importantly, we're a family-first organization, so she's where she should be. But Kelly Mason, who has taught with us for a very long time, is going to be the assistant principal at the high school. So a round of applause for her, even though
Also in those extended field trips, just as an FYI, is the exchange trip to Lille, France for the French department, and trip to San Antonio for the middle school Spanish department. Okay,
Do they do
moving.
that San Antonio one every year, or is that every other?
every year.
They do that every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that.
It's
And
very regular, yeah.
yeah, and the French students go to Quebec.
They didn't go for probably 5 or 6 years, and then once they started going, they've been going every year.
Moving on to our action items. G1, can I have a motion to approve the district safety plan for the 2024-25 school year is presented at the July 9th, 2024 meeting? So moved by Rich.
Second.
Second by Laura. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Item G2, can I have a motion to approve a pharmacy benefits management agreement between the Hamburg Central School District and Express Scripts, effective April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2025.
So moved.
It's moved by Cam,
Second.
second by Ashley. Is that Ashley or Laura?
Either,
Laura.
anybody can.
Questions, comments?
I have a question. Why are we approving a contract that is 18 months from the beginning?
That's an excellent question, and I'm glad you asked it. So, as has been told to us, Express Script is a very large corporation, and it's customary for them to take 7 or 8 or 9 months to turn contracts around. We expressed our displeasure with our health insurance consultant for not kind of telling us that up front. So there's certain parts of our implementation of our new prescription medication funding plan that have not gone as we had hoped. That's one of them. So we didn't get it in time from them. Then we didn't get it from Assured until the summertime. So it's just bad turnaround from Express Scripts and then from our consultant. So they're aware of our displeasure. They understand that we are a publicly accountable organization, and it's problematic for us to be writing checks before we have an executed contract. But the reality of it is we don't have choice because we're not going to leave we have 1,409 people who we cover on our plan, and they need what they need. So that's the reason why it's not ideal, and they know it can't happen again.
We've been operating under the terms of this agreement since
100%.
Since the beginning
April
here,
1st,
so we're
yeah.
really, so nothing, so in those 18 months, the contract has not changed.
Not one bit.
It just took 18, 17, whatever months to
Yes,
actually.
too darn long is the number. It took too darn long for them to do it, but it has had no operational impact because we were not going to let it have an impact on our employees or their families who are covered by insurance plan, and we did not.
But serious question, let's say I needed drugs in May 2023 and I wanted to get reimbursed and that kept getting denied, like how does that happen?
So,
Just curious.
so whether or not there's an executed contract has nothing to do with whether or not a medication that an employee needs for themselves and their family gets covered. All of the elements of the agreement were executed. So all of the mechanisms associated with people putting in pharmaceutical claims, whether it's they go pick it up at CVS or it gets delivered from Express Scripts, every aspect of that happened irrespective of whether or not we had an executed contract. So it didn't impact anybody's access to the medication they need for themselves and their family.
So in other words, you'd be denied whether we had a contract or not.
Yeah,
Right.
if there was a denial, it had nothing to
You're-
do with any of that.
You're gonna,
And there were implementation bumps for sure. I mean, I took probably 40, 50, it's old news. We went through it in April of 23. It's been rather good since we got over those bumps. But so yeah, that's the reason why it did not have any impact on any of our covered folks.
I assume we're already negotiating the next contract with them since they take so long.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the negotiating part, it's just them turning it around in their departments and getting it back to us. But yeah, we are looking at how we're gonna, whether or not we wanna renew it, or if we wanna do something different come April 1, 2025.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't negotiate with a company with 1,500 lives, right? You take their terms.
Yes.
Right.
Unless we wanna do something different.
Or you leave them and go to
Right.
somebody with better terms.
Correct.
Right.
Well, yes, and the rebates get renegotiated each plan year. So the terms are no different, but the rebates are negotiated by Keenan, who is one of the middlemen. So, I don't know what the number is, 240 or 50,000, they anticipate an increased rebates year over year. So that happens, just as a function of the way they do their business. But we're in the process of exploring, they're just doing our due diligence about what it might look like for April 1, 2025. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Item G3, can I have a motion to approve a food service agreement with Randolph Academy effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025?
So moved.
So move by Cam,
second.
second by Laura.
If I might, this is a late ad, something we did, is this the second year or the third year?
Second.
Second year.
I think second.
So they come and pick them up. And we provide them, they pay us.
Notice they pay a little premium, right?
Yeah.
A little more than we charge our own
Yeah.
students.
Yes. Works out well for them, works out well for us.
Other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item G4, can I have a motion to approve the change orders? 101-117, 101-16, 101-15, 103-05 for the capital project work.
So moved.
So moved by Dave,
Seconded.
second by Ashley. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item G5, can I have a motion to approve the school lunch prices for the 2024-25 school year as listed?
So moved.
So moved by Laura,
Second.
second by Cam. Any questions, comments?
What are they gonna be?
That's on the next page.
They're listed and there's no change from
I was
last
gonna
year.
say it doesn't look like a change.
And they're really good.
They are.
You should really get them.
Yes, you should eat there. The Uncrustables are great. The salads at middle school and high school are excellent. High school makes a great tuna sandwich too on rye, so.
You want to talk about Boston Valley?
Does it
Oh.
feed, does a high school boy really eat lunch for $30? Or does a high school boy buy 2 lunches?
They could.
It's a lot of.
He usually
lot of
eats his,
activity.
speaking from experience, he usually eats his friend's lunch. I know, that's my knowledge.
Teenage boys will eat anything.
Or they'll like try to get like, yeah,
Some
they want,
extra or something?
yeah, they want extra.
It should be noted, thanks Christine for reminding me, so for 24-25, Boston Valley School is community eligible. So that means everybody in the school gets free and reduced lunch because it falls above.
Free lunch,
Free, what'd I say?
breakfast and lunch. You
Free-
said free and reduced.
Oh, free and reduced breakfast and lunch. Free breakfast and lunch.
You got it.
So, that school falls above a particular poverty threshold. It's the only school in the district for us that does. I think Frontier, because of their poverty numbers, their entire district is community eligible, but they have higher poverty numbers than we do, which is why. So we're, as a district, a few points below that threshold. But we keep paying very close attention to it. And, you know, the minute we think someone is community eligible, or the district is, then we'll be on top of it.
Right, but students at other schools that aren't community eligible are themselves still eligible for free lunch.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
So it's just when a school hits a threshold, then they just say, forget it, the whole school's available?
Yes.
Oh, really?
And they've dropped that threshold. It used to be a lot higher, but it's.
Right, it used to be
come down
40,
quite a
now
bit.
it's 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Interesting. I did not know that.
we still want the applications to be filled out. Boston Valley, they don't have to fill out the financial part, but we still need the parents to fill out the application because that drives other funding, not just school lunch.
That's
It's
the
critical.
purple application is my favorite acronym.
Purple.
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 Yep, not to be confused with purple.
Right.
Do we sort of sing that from the rooftops to the Boston
It's going
parents?
to be in,
PTA saying
yeah, Mrs. Lauer's newsletter, and Kim, the food service director, has given her some language, and, yeah.
We've been working on
We
it for
will,
a couple of years
yeah.
to get everybody to do it.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item G6, can I have a motion that the Board of Education of the Hamburg Central School District reimburses a sum not to exceed $4,673 for medical expenses related to CSE therapies provided?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Laura, second by Ashley. Questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Item passes. Item G7, can I have a motion to, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, place the employee listed on confidential schedule A.1 on paid administrative leave effective July 1st, 2024 through August 5th, 2024? So moved by Rich, second by Cam. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item G8, can I have a motion to accept the donation of 5 $50 gift cards from Assured Partners to cover the costs associated with the Employee Wellness Program?
So moved.
So moved by Dave,
Second.
second by Mary. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item G9, can I have a motion to accept the donation of $50 gift card from the U.S. Employee Benefits for the Employee Wellness Program?
So moved.
Moved by Ashley,
Second. Sorry, Rich said it.
second by Rich. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item G10, can I have a motion to approve upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the contract with John W. Danforth Company via the Gordian Cooperative Purchasing Contract for the 2021 Capital Project Phase 2, Contract BP 202 Plumbing Work in the total contract award of $383,457.
So moved.
So moved by Laura,
Second.
second by Dave. Questions, comments?
So in all of these, the references to Greece are really just because that's the most favorable terms that we're piggybacking on?
So, yeah, the town of Greece they were the ones who brought this competitive bidding process to New York
Oh,
State.
I see. Okay.
So because we can piggyback off of it, they're the ones who have kind of pioneered that movement, and everybody just kind of tags along on that.
So anyone doing a Gordian cooperative purchasing contract has this Greece language?
Yes, it has the same language, the same pricing, the same everything, depending on the trades that you have on your work. It's all the same. So you're basically buying in volume for labor and material for any of the projects that you do through this program.
So, and I've understood the cooperative program, I just didn't get that it was actually a particular municipality that now sort of leaves their mark on every project.
Yes.
Okay, understood.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item G11, can I have a motion to approve upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the contract with John W. Danforth Company via the Gordian Cooperative Purchasing Contract for the 2021 Capital Project Phase 2, Contract BP 203 Mechanical Work in the total contract award of $14,775,256.
So moved. Second.
So moved by Mary, second by Cam. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item G12, can I have a motion to approve upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the contract with Industrial Power and Lighting Corporation via the Gordian Cooperative Purchasing Contract for the 2021 Capital Project Phase 2, Contract BP 204, electrical work in the total contract award of $3,025,156.05.
So moved.
So moved by Laura,
Second.
second by Rich. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. The next 5 are all the transfer to reserve funds. So at this time, for efficiency's sake, I'd like to make a motion that we approve action items G13 through G17 with one single consent vote.
So moved.
So moved by Camp,
Second.
second by Ashley. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. That got us through all our action items. Do we have the speaker?
Go see.
Thank you. Just one. Liz Houston.
Hi, everyone. Liz Houston, president of the Hamburg Music Boosters. It's been a busy few months since we last saw you guys, and introduced ourselves to you in June as the newly incorporated Hamburg School Music Boosters. We just want to share a little update of what we've been up to this summer. The board of directors, so Susan and Dawn and myself, have been meeting on a regular basis. We have developed bylaws. We've drafted policies to guide all the activities that we put together. Received our federal tax exempt status as a 501c3 organization. Got our insurance, opened a bank account, designed and launched a website, and continue to build upon the foundations of our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. As we approach the beginning of the school year, we would like to launch our membership drive for the 24-25 school year with you. And With that in mind, on behalf of the HSMB Board of Directors, I'd like to invite each of you to join the Hamburg School Music Boosters and help to champion our mission to promote and support music education and music performance throughout the Hamburg Central School District. So Dawn is giving you a paper form. There's lots of information on there, and our new website that was just pretty much launched today is on there, so you can go check that out if you want. Or if you prefer, Susan will walk you. You can also scan the QR code, which will direct you right to the website, where you can digitally sign up, get a membership, make a donation, whatever you'd like to do to support us.
I don't have to fill this
We know
out, I
what,
can do
we
it
know what the
online.
young people want. Yeah.
Do I count as a young person?
You better, absolutely. So with that, I just want to thank you for your time tonight, thank you for your support, and we look forward to sharing our progress with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. It's a lot of work.
Awesome.
Anybody else?
I'll take it.
I can type it in.
Just doing that. That was the only speaker signed up, so being no further business, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
So moved by Cam, second by everyone. Rich, we'll say.
Ready for it.
All in favor? Opposed?
Oh,
Item passes,
I'll talk to
and we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
you when we're recording our meetings.